right, today in the house, we got Mr. Mark Yeramian of Moast. We're going to get into, and that's spelled M-O-A-S-T, not M-O-S-T. We're going to get into his business. Mark's a startup man. We went to the same high school. You were a year younger than me, right? You graduated in 2007 from Loyola?
2008, so 2 years.
You're 2 years younger.
Yeah,
okay,
2 years, yeah.
Cool. I thought you were
coming up
younger.
on 15 years.
Damn.
Graduation. Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah.
What do you think about girls going into the school?
I'm a traditionalist. I like it the way it was.
Same.
But it's everything's changing, so can't really say much about that.
I was speaking to someone who's an alumni as well, one of our clients. He wasn't very happy about it. Not obviously nothing against women. There's nothing wrong with women coming in, but just the education we received at an all boys school. Looking back at it, I'm happy there was no girls because of the distractions. I love women. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm very happy that when I was 16 years old, there was no women in the classroom because I promise you, I would have been distracted.
But that's something that only you and I and people that went to an all-boys school understand because a lot of my friends now went to co-ed schools and you get teased for having gone to an all-boys school. And when you explain to them that, they just don't understand. So, I mean, and now less and less people understand that too because there's less of these. But are they keeping the classes separate?
As far as I know, no. I think it's just
too.
Yes, but it's not like all of a sudden, bam, you're gonna have the entire 5 grades. Or is there a grade 12 yet?
I don't think so.
So let's just say up to Sec 1 to Sec 5. It's not like women are coming in all of them. It's just Sec 1 where there's going to be girls, and then they'll slowly integrate them.
That's
time.
even harder for them because they're coming in Sec 1 and Sec 2 to 5 is all boys, and I don't know. That's tough.
If I was a father and I had a daughter, I don't know how I would feel about that. My daughter, who's 12 years old, going into an all-boys school.
Yeah, it's tough.
And they're all going to be,
very tough. And we know what happened there.
They're all going to be goggling the girls who are coming in. I mean, that's what's going to happen.
It's hard enough being a teacher, a woman teacher at Loyola.
Who is your favorite teacher at Loyola? Female teacher.
I had a few female teachers. I'm so bad with names, like teacher names from.
I had a crush on Miss Adams.
Okay, yeah, I had her too. Yeah, she was cute. Yeah. Shout out Phil Lefebvre, I guess.
Phil Lefebvre? Yeah, he was a good teacher. He's still there.
Well, he didn't teach, but he was, coach of the hockey team and just, put everyone in line. I like that.
Yeah, he was a great leader, and he definitely had control of the hockey team. He definitely had control of, he was the vice principal of discipline.
Yeah.
So you didn't want to fuck around with him around.
Yeah. Were you on that team, the greatest team of all time, I think?
Yeah, but I didn't play because I was concussed. Because I played football. Yeah, we won everything.
Yeah.
Oh,
thanks to a certain other Yeramian.
Yeah, seriously. But I remember, I was playing in the preseason. So I took the year off in Sec 4 and Sec 5 I came back. So I'm playing in the preseason and I hit someone. And I got to the bench, and my head was like I was seeing stars. I hit him, and I was seeing stars again. And
he gave you a little reverse hit.
I don't remember exactly what it was, but I was like, "Oh, this isn't supposed to be happening when you hit." And maybe I was still concussed. Maybe I got concussions easier because the more concussions you get, the easier it is to get it the next time. Yeah, so it gets easier and easier and easier to get a concussion. Yeah. And I remember looking at him, I'm like, "Phil, I'm seeing stars." He's like, "You're not playing this season."
Really? Okay, you said that.
Yeah, he knew.
Okay, good. I would have thought they'd say like shake it off.
No. Phil was pretty serious about it. He's like, "Seriously?" I'm like, yeah. He's like, "Go to the room." He's like, "You're not playing this year."
The whole year.
I didn't play. I had never played hockey again.
I guess like at the high school level, we played 3-on-3 together.
We played 3-on-3, but like contact hockey, I didn't play hockey again.
Yeah, that sucks. That's too bad. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
You're
feeling good now, though.
Feel great.
Yeah,
feel great. We're here to rip this. But you look good too. Good to see you. Mark and I go way back. We go way back. That was a fun time in NTR. But yeah, we're at the Freemium Podcast. We never even made the intro. You know what? That's okay though. It's just like Joe Rogan. He never makes his intro. No? But welcome to the Freemium Podcast. I'm excited for today's conversation. So you're a startup guy. Let's hop into this. You're a startup man. Talk to me about that. I know it's a pretty broad question.
Yeah.
But what's it like being Mr. Startup? And what have you done? Let's start from the beginning. Kind of like...
Okay. Wow. Way back. Startups are interesting. They've... I guess I've always associated startups with like freedom and kind of bit of creativity that you can, build something from scratch and watch it grow.
It's fun.
Yeah, and especially kind of in the tech space, because startups, they could be anything, right?
Yeah.
Like consumer goods could be startups.
Yeah.
But my focus has been more in the tech space. I'm not technical myself, but I try to surround myself with those people. They're extremely challenging. Like, I wouldn't, not for the faint of heart, let's say. And by no means, I'm still working at it. I wouldn't say I've had kind of personal successes and for myself, I like to kind of give myself credit for certain accomplishments, but externally, I still working on finding that big, the big success, which I think is what we're starting to find now with Moast. But if I were to go back, I've always tried to find different ideas and bring them to life, and while doing so, the main kind of project that would keep us busy, Steve and I, my partner, shout out Steve Mastro. Yeah. We ran a digital services agency, just a boutique agency. We built websites, did digital marketing. And that gave us a lot of exposure into like the online world. And that was kind of what would keep the lights on while we worked on different projects, while we tried to bring different projects to life. And the first thing we did before even having a startup idea to get off the ground was we were like, how can we immerse ourselves in this space and just expose ourselves to the Montreal startup community, meet different people, just kind of work on something. And that's what was, I guess, our first step into the startup space was launching Montreal Startups, which I think you know quite well because you were so kind as to sponsor that podcast. So Montreal Startups was I guess for lack of a better term, sort of a database of different startups in Montreal, investors, founders in Montreal. And then that was kind of the website. And then as side by side with that, we launched a podcast. We did 10 episodes where we interviewed, I think, some pretty big guests.
There was one of the podcasts that I listened to was, I'm blanking. But he was a pretty big deal.
There's Renault Run, maybe you're thinking of it, Eamon O'Rourke. There was... wow, this was, 4 years ago?
It was kind of a WeWork type company.
That was Julian Smith. He was the founder of, I'm blanking out, Breather.
Breather, yes. Is it still around, Breather?
Good question. They raised a ton of money. I know both the co-founders kind of left the company since. Yeah. But he was great. He started another startup now, Julian Smith. Yeah.
Okay. What's his new startup?
They're kind of like a coaching platform. I'm not too familiar with it, so I don't want to butcher it, but you should check that out. He's a great entrepreneur.
So Montreal Startups, so you were working in digital marketing. I guess you call yourselves like a branding agency or marketing agency, kind of whatever term you want to use. So you were doing that first, and then you opened up a website called Montreal Startups on the side, or this was a company? No,
it was really just a project. Like I wouldn't call myself a co-founder. I think I posted it as like co-creator. Yeah. Because we created this platform and it was kind of like
it's like a marketplace just for people to share ideas, get contacts.
Yeah, we were just listing all the startups in Montreal and then the podcast was kind of like a backhanded way of meeting people. Yeah. It was like, hey, like come on our podcast, and then once the mics stop rolling, you get to meet the person, right? Yeah. And everybody loves coming on a podcast and telling their story. Yeah.
And so you would meet them in the hopes of getting them as a client for your marketing agency, or?
No, not even. It was really just I just want to increase my network, right? Like I didn't have any like intentions of selling them something. It was like, hey, come on, tell your story, and hey, I'm Mark. This is what we do, and it worked because Montreal Startups got us into different events too. We got media passes for startup events and stuff like that. We really got to expose ourselves in the Montreal startup community, and that network that we built through that is one that I've gone back to several times since. So that was a great project, and we were happy to have sponsors like KBD. Shout out KBD.
Yeah, I remember that you called.
Our first and only sponsor. Yeah, you called me.
I called you.
Yeah.
Did I?
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, can we sponsor your podcast?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then that's what led to our first kind of startup idea called Card Anchor.
Okay. Card Anchor.
Cart, like CART.
Okay.
Card Anchor. Okay. Yeah. Steve didn't love that name. I still really like that name, like the anchor to your cart. And like when I explain what it does. It would make sense.
Yeah.
But we developed this kind of like algorithm that we place on these iPads at the point of sale in stores. So when you're purchasing a product, if you're unsure of what's the right fit for you for this specific product, you go to this iPad, it'll ask you some questions, and then it'll spit out an answer, and then you could just... So the context here is we built this for hockey sticks. So you're in store shopping for a hockey stick, all the reps are busy, you're like, you're looking at this wall, there's 200 sticks on the wall, you're like, which one's right for me? You go to this iPad that's in the aisle, it'll ask you some questions about how you play, and then it'll spit out a recommendation. It was tied to the store's inventory, so whatever it would spit out as a recommendation you knew was in stock, and you could just walk down the aisle, grab it, and check out. That was Card Anchor. Cool idea. I think we had the wrong execution. We went kind of point of sale when we should have just gone online, like built it. And now there's a lot of these online, kind of like product fitter quizzes is what they're now referred to as.
So people just go there with their phone, they look at the sticks, and they do it directly on their phone as opposed to an iPad in the store, or how does that work?
Online would just be on the brand's website. So you could do it online on the website.
Got it.
And then there's kind of like these SaaS tools that are out there now that you could just build your own, right? And we were like building this for different product categories, and then we had the overhead of putting an iPad in stores and putting the stand like with this kiosk. It's a physical good.
Yeah.
That was complicated. We were going after like an industry that is not down for any innovation, right?
Yeah.
Like, have you ever been to a Play It Again or Sports Experts?
Yeah, of course.
Not like the most advanced.
No. And
then the pandemic hit, and all these stores shut down, and we were like, okay, we tried to pivot, but it was just a combination of different things that we were just like, let's just.
So Card Anchor was your first startup that you started yourself. Is that correct?
I would say the first kind of official startup where we had a business.
It was incorporated.
It was incorporated. We had a business plan. I started one even before that with my brother Chris. We launched a website called Wiser Fans.
Yeah,
Wiser Fans. Do you remember that? You might have seen that.
I remember the name. What was it again?
Yeah,
Wiser Fans.
So the idea with Wiser Fans was that sports bettors or anyone that follows hockey should kind of make decisions, fantasy decisions, betting decisions that leverage analytics, advanced stats. But the context was that advanced stats were too complex for you or I to just pick up and start referencing it when making these decisions. So Chris, my brother, created an algorithm that kind of compresses different advanced stats and creates a power rankings, basically. It was a fancy power rankings website for players and teams in the NHL. There's a hockey theme here that's recurring, as you can see.
Yeah.
And it did pretty well, actually. We were getting like 20,000 hits a month.
20,000 website visitors?
Yeah.
Were you making money off AdSense?
No, because AdSense, you can't monetize with AdSense. Back then, maybe a little bit, but even less so today. It's just that you need millions of website hits to actually make decent money off ads. We had a plan to kind of create like a premium tier for it. Fizzle out. But there was no real business involved. We were doing it part-time. We didn't have like, an incorporated business. But it was all these things, like when I always reflect on my background, my experience, they're all just learning, steps to learn and improve on.
So I want to stay on Card Anchor. So when you were doing Card Anchor as a company, so you set it up, did you get funding, or were you guys just eat what you kill? How did you get started with this business? Because starting a business most of the time is very expensive. You need to pay yourself. You need to purchase the inventory. You need to purchase this. You need to purchase that. If you want to hire someone to go on sales, you have to pay that person. How did you get started with all that? Like, did you get funding?
So for Card Anchor, no. We bootstrapped, I guess you'd say. The difference with tech is it's mostly labor costs that go into the initial build of a product, right? There is no inventory, there's no office space, so it's really just your time as the investment. So, I mean, we're all kind of doing it. We were putting a lot of time into it, but still kind of had side jobs. Like that's what we were doing with our agency to keep the lights on. So no, we did not raise any money.
Got it. But you had like a side revenue already, which kind of kept it.
the agency. And now that's common. Like if you go in these startup communities, everyone's like, start an agency, use that funding to invest
a marketing agency.
Yeah, any kind of agency that, sell service and use the revenue from that service to
go do your side projects.
Exactly. Yeah.
Huh. I didn't know that. What would you say is the biggest lesson that you learned from Card Anchor?
I would have spent way more time on kind of assessing the market or speaking to potential customers before building. We spoke to one person who I used to work at Sport Experts growing up as like my part-time job. So my boss there at SportX, and he was like, yeah, this is great. In hindsight, so much bias, right? Like he was just telling us what we want to hear. Like,
did you end up putting the product in the store?
In his store.
You did? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good at least.
So yeah, there was that learning. I mean, also like, who you work with, how you work with them, just there's so much that came from it. And, all these experiences, some look at them as failures. I mean, I think that's just part of the growth and the learning curve of going on to the
most successful CEOs have a couple failures before they hit it big and make a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Most of them do. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of stuff that you learn and a lot of mistakes you make. And, sometimes the company goes tits up and goes bankrupt, or doesn't, like, you didn't really have anything invested, so you fold up the company. It's not a big deal. You just lost a bit of time. Not the end of the world.
It's time, and it's like I haven't been employed in 6-7 years now, and it's there's the opportunity cost of salaries that I can be making, right? Yeah. But this is what I love to do. So.
What is your plan though? Do you want to hit it big and be on a beach somewhere when you're 45 and someone comes and buys out your company and see you later? Or do you want to kind of create an empire in some type of industry? Like what's your goal right now with, because, I know people who like to start startups, I admire them because it's very risky. There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of ups. There's a lot of downs.
Yeah, it's roller coaster.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, I can't imagine starting up a company. I was very fortunate when I started working at this company here. I mean, we didn't have a big base of clients, but we had a foundation enough where I didn't have to worry about revenue. It wasn't a lot of revenue, but it was enough to stabilize the company, and I could go out and do things and try different things. Then we got some funding from some companies. I was like, oh, okay, great. Now I can go try other stuff. That was fantastic. But it's like, I can't imagine just starting off from scratch.
Yeah.
And, in insurance, it's like, all right, well, eat what you call 1 million people and try and sell them insurance.
Yeah, and hustle.
And if you don't sell, you're not going to get paid. Yeah. Like, I can't imagine doing that. So what, do you have an end goal right now for the company you for Moast, or like what's
I'm not, I mean, I would be lying if I said I wasn't motivated by financial returns, but
of course everyone is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, of course.
So I wouldn't say that, but I wouldn't say it's like the plan is to make it big and exit and go live on a beach somewhere. I just want like some, freedom and stability from my family and I, and be able to do what I want when I want. I don't see myself ever stopping to work, right? Like even if I did if something, if this went well or big, I would still find other projects to work on and do other things. I just like to do that. So
it's just exciting for you.
Yeah, I just want the ability to wake up and choose what I get to do every day, and not kind of have to go into an office somewhere. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
So you don't like routine?
I don't like routine, no.
That's
and
okay.
And like, if we get through this, the next part of my life was like no routine whatsoever. It was very crazy.
So after Card Anchor, what did you do? Is that Moast came in after Card Anchor, or
soon after?
Okay. So what was after Card Anchor? We're going through this chronologically.
Yeah. So after Card Anchor, there was a little bit of reflecting time. It was the pandemic, right? So there was a lot of time to kind of figure out what comes next. And I didn't want to force an idea, because when you force an idea, that's kind of where you get into trouble. And we want to take more time to just come up with something that is going to be, that has some potential. So everything I do with, again, I got to shout out Steve as much as I can, because he's the cornerstone. He has perfect complementary skill set to what I bring to the table. And we were just
Can he code?
No, he's more of a designer.
Okay. But he can build websites?
He could build websites. Yeah, very proficient in kind of like basic tech, but not CTO. We have a CTO now at Moast.
Nice.
His name's Andrew, and he's fantastic.
Okay, cool.
So we were. I forget where it came from exactly, but we noticed a recurring problem with one of our clients at our agency at BuildUp. This was a client that sold e-bikes online. They had a showroom in Montreal, but they sold across Canada online, right? And can you imagine buying an e-bike online, like spending $2,000-$3,000 on a product you've never seen, touched, felt? Like that's a big barrier and a big challenge. Yep. And we were running ads for this company, and on our Facebook ads, we would get these comments that would be like, hey, I'm in Saskatchewan. Can I see a bike here before I buy it? I'm in Edmonton. Can I see one here? I'm in Calgary. Can I see one here? That was like a recurring theme. And this guy that was running this business, he didn't have the bandwidth, time, money to expand retail distribution across the country or get dealers and all that, right? That's a big ask. And we were like, well, wait a minute, there's customers in these cities. Like, what if we could pair the two, right? What if the customer that's already in that city can do the meetup or do the, share the experience with their product? And that's kind of the light bulb moment that was the foundation for Moast.
And so do the people actually go in person? Or, because my understanding when I was on the website checking out Moast, this was yesterday, and I've checked it out before previously. We had that conversation a couple months ago. And like my understanding was that it's all digital. So it's basically a customer that purchases a product from whatever website, and then they'll give a digital review on that product. So it's someone who's already purchased it, but it's like a little bit more than just a review. It's like, anyways, you can obviously explain this better. But I guess my question is, are people meeting up? Yeah. So it's like Facebook Marketplace. So I just bought an e-bike. I live in Regina. You live in Regina. You're looking to buy the same e-bike that I just bought. Yeah. I would meet up with you and go, yeah, it's a pretty sick bike, eh? Is that how it would work?
This is good because we know we have to work on our positioning.
I'm not trying to make fun of what it is. It's a serious question, but like, of course.
So look, this is 2 years ago that we were conceptualizing this. It's come a long way since, but the core idea is we connect an undecided shopper or hesitant shopper to an existing customer in their community. That connection could be virtual or in person. So sometimes they'll just ask questions back and forth, and in some cases they'll meet up in person to check out the product. How we do that is...
So you, sorry to cut you off. So you connect the two. Once you connect the two, however they do it is however they do it.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
So, and how it works, like the front end of it is we embed this interactive map on the brand's website. So this e-bike brand that we were talking about before, they now have this interactive map, and it has pins on the map with their different customers. And it kind of looks like Airbnb. You have cards on the left and you have the pins on the map on the right. And now the shopper could put in their location. They're in Calgary, and they'll find a few customers around them that own that bike. They could pull up their profiles, see what their see their background. Like we want to personalize the experience. Like, who is this customer that's showing off the bike, right? What's their bio? How they use the product? They upload pictures of themselves with the product as well.
So they have like a Uber profile, but for Moast.
Kind of.
Okay,
sure.
Cool. Yeah.
Uber profile. And then there's a kind of contact button, and they could get in touch, and it starts a conversation by email. And then in some cases, they'll go so far as to meet up in person. In other cases, just a virtual connection.
Do they get paid?
There is an incentive. The brand kind of sets up an incentive structure for the host. Usually it's just like merchandise, accessories, or gift cards back to the website for participating. Some brands will just be like, no, I'll just do this. I just want my best customers that want to do this and help other shoppers, and there'll be no incentive whatsoever.
Interesting. And how's that going for you?
Good. Like we're 2 years in now.
Can we talk numbers?
We could talk general numbers.
Yeah. How's the increase in revenue?
So this summer has been big for us. We've doubled our business this summer.
Okay.
We kicked off the summer by raising a bit of venture capital.
Great.
So that was
good.
good.
You. Congrats.
Yeah.
We're gonna get into that.
Yeah, we could talk about that because I don't think it's just a step in the business. It's not. A lot of people celebrate raising funding. I don't think that's the way to do it. You should celebrate building a profitable business.
Mm-hmm.
We could get into that.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, we're growing month over month, and I think that's what's most important right now.
I want to get into this VC funding stuff.
Okay,
VC funding. Number one, how did you get? So for those that don't know, VC, venture capital firms, they will come in, they will give money to a company for in exchange, generally speaking, most of the time, for equity in the company, for a percentage It's deal by deal, case by case. Sometimes they'll take a lot, sometimes they'll take a little. It all depends on what the market's at, what the business is, et cetera, et cetera. So VC funding, let's talk about that. How did you choose a venture capital firm to invest with you? Did they choose you? Did you reach out to them? Did they reach out to you? Were you pitching? How did this work?
So raising venture capital is like, it's a full-time job. So I went from my role in Moast shifted from sales and business development to fundraising.
I need some money.
Yeah, full time.
Finding money. Yeah.
And we only raised in May, and before that we launched this. We started building this 12, 16 months before that. So we were doing this, the having the agency on the side helped, but we were doing this completely kind of bootstrapped, right?
And did you have sales already before the venture capital?
We had a bit of sales, but nothing
crazy.
Nothing to pay ourselves. It was really just to get some validation, get some recurring revenue coming in, but it was by no means like salaries.
Okay.
So when we set out to raise, it's it could take anywhere from 4 months to 12 months, depending on the climate, right? Like the appetite for fundraising at the time.
And you were doing this over COVID?
No, we started in December, this past December, and we closed in May.
December 2022.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, got it.
We closed in May.
Got it.
So
cool. So continue, sorry.
So yeah, it's full time. You have to just be super go every day. Have a list of funds that you want to reach out to, and just find ways to get in front of them. And it's kind of like this, lack of a better term, old boys club where they want to talk to people through intros, right? Like if I reach out to you as an investor, you're probably going to turn me away. But if our mutual contact intros me to you, you're more likely to take the meeting. So the key is to get intros to these people. So the company we raised with, I won't mention them. They like to fly under the radar, which is why it was a good fit for us, because they have a different philosophy when it comes to fundraising, which we could talk about as well. But I was introed to them by a good buddy of mine, Michael Bellos, who's the co-founder of Go Materials, very successful Montreal startup. You should check them out. Shout out Mike. We had a meeting, and then I think it took about 3 months before we kind of closed the deal with them. But until then, it was like every day reaching out to investors, trying to schedule meetings. Sometimes you'd have 20 meetings a week, right? Like just
is the VC firm, are they Montreal based or is it Toronto
they're in
based?
the US. They're in
the
LA.
US.
Yeah.
They're in LA. Oh wow, cool.
Yeah, and we actually got into an accelerator program in Montreal at the same time, and we were considering both options. The accelerator program here is Founder Fuel. I want to watch what I say because I don't want to say anything bad. It's a great program, but just different philosophies.
Yeah.
Because to the investors we're working with, there's an accelerator component to it. So we're kind of working with them on a regular basis to kind of propel our growth going forward.
Yeah.
So there are two accelerator programs, and on one hand, the philosophy with our investors in the US was, let's focus on building the business, right? Let's sit down and work on the fundamentals of the business, your customer acquisition, your product market fit, all that. There's no start of the program. There's no end of the program. It's just, it ends when we both deem that you found product market fit. Product market fit is kind of this, there's no one metric for it, but it's kind of a point in time where your product is being received by your customers. And there's different ways of evaluating that. This other program, this Founder Fuel program, is a 16-week program, and it's a lead up to a demo day. A demo day is at the end of 16 weeks, you go up on stage. There's an event at Palais des Congrès, I think it was this year. I watched it. There's 12 startups that pitch on stage. There's a ton of investors.
It's like crowd. Dragon's Den, same idea.
Kind of, yeah. No Q&A after, but like you go up, you pitch, and then the idea is to raise a round after that. But you spend those 16 weeks entirely focused on working on your pitch.
On the pitch and the presentation.
Yeah. And that works, that could work if you're in the right, but I hated fundraising. I hated that journey. I hated having to reach out to investors and focus all my time. I want to build the business. I don't want to, but you have to. You need the money to come in. So yeah, that was part of many reasons why we went with these investors in the US. The other thing is we just wanted our foot in the door in the US too.
So these guys will give you all of the tools to help you succeed in the business. So I'll go, I got this guy who's going to help you with the financials. I got this guy who's going to help you with the marketing. I got this guy who's going to get you into all these retailers or whatever it is, like, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly.
Great.
Yeah.
Most the good VCs do that. Like, they give you a team of people to help you.
Exactly. And what they're very much like, they fly under the radar. There's no PR with them.
Yeah.
Most people actually don't know about them. They're a top 5 VC fund in the US. And that's because they don't celebrate fundraising. And that's the problem with the startup culture is like you raise a $2-3 million round and everyone's congratulating you and celebrating it. And that's dangerous because I think the most important thing to realize in the VC world is that the incentives or the interests are fundamentally different between the investor and the startup. The investor knows that they're only going to hit on about 5 to 10% of their investments.
In venture capital, yeah.
And they're going to do everything they can to make sure that you hit that unicorn status, which is $1 billion valuation. Yeah. And they would rather you die than just, get to a $50 million valuation. Whereas, for you or I or anyone, that would be fantastic, right? So it's important to keep that in mind, which is why the more you raise, the more of that cycle. If you over raise, well, all of a sudden you have a ton of money in the bank. They don't want you to just sit on that money. You have to spend that money. So you have to start hiring. You have to start spending on marketing, on sales, all these different things. Now your burn goes up, right? You start spending $50,000, $100,000 a month because you have to deploy that capital that you just raised. And if you can't keep that growth going alongside your spend, well, then when when that money runs out and it's time to raise another round, if you didn't hit your marks, well, you're dead. You're dead, right? And it's like, and that's what they want to see. They would rather you die than just kind of go. So it's all to say that this is something that we spent a lot of time internally thinking about, how much we would want to raise going forward, and it's just like one of those philosophical things.
How much equity did you have to give up? Is it over or under 20%?
No, way under.
Under 20%?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And then, so do they put pressure on you so it's a small investment, do they put pressure on you to have 100% year-over-year growth? Because generally speaking, because this is what my understanding, the difference between a venture capitalist or a private equity firm. So VC firms, to my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, VC firms are going to invest in companies that they think can get to that unicorn status, like you said. And a VC firm is basically only going to invest in you if you're having 100% year-over-year growth. If it's under 100% year-over-year growth, then you have to switch to a private equity model. Private equity is basically, they're okay with having, they'll take 300% year-over-year growth too, obviously, but they're okay with having a 10, a 20, a 30, a 40, a 50% year-over-year growth, but they want earnings immediately. They want profit immediately. Yeah. They want to make money, get in for a couple of years, make it profitable, cut costs, and get the hell out of there. Yeah. So is that an accurate description of the difference between a VC firm and a private equity?
Yeah, I mean, private equity is like come in, tear down the walls, and rebuild it, right? And it's there's no overlap between what I do in private equity. I think in VC generally that's right, but what happens is like the metrics are different at different stages of your fundraise. So if you're in
what you just did would be defined at the seed round. That's a seed
even
round?
More like pre-seed.
Pre-seed, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's like pre-seed, there's seed, then you start getting into series A, B, C, D, and so on. And again, everything will be different at each one of those stages. At pre-seed and seed, you'll usually look at, okay, who are the founders? Are they is there founder market fit? Founder market fit.
And they're investing in the person. They're investing
exactly.
It's more the person than anything as opposed to the idea, right?
Exactly. That's exactly it. And founder market fit is, does this person have a background in this space that they're building a product? And if you launched a startup in insurance, like InsurTech startup, you would be what VCs would like is founder market fit.
Most InsurTechs are so stupid.
Yeah.
Well, I understand the insurance industry really well. There's some really good ideas and they did it really well, but I'm looking at some other InsurTechs. I'm like, this is so dumb.
Yeah.
Like you guys are, and a lot of them have failed over the past couple of years. A lot of them started, a lot of them failed. Yeah. Because they have a really fancy website and they sell insurance, but they don't know how to sell the product. Yeah. Insurance is sticky. People, like when they're with a broker or they already, it's like when you're with the bank. I've been with TD my whole life. I'm never going to switch my bank. I like TD.
Yeah. Me too.
It's, I like the app. I like going. I like the customer service when I call them. I'm not going to switch.
Yeah.
And insurance, it's like, and the banks, it's 4 quarters for a dollar. Whether you're with RBC, TD, National Bank, I mean, it's a bank. They're all the same.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's kind of the same thing for insurance, in my opinion.
That's why it's so important to get the customer young, right?
Get the customer young and to differentiate it by doing, stuff like this.
Yeah, we spoke about that.
Yeah. Just throwing a plug for KBD Insurance. But there's a lot of dumb ideas. But here, I have a question for you. I'm going to go off topic just for a little bit. What's your opinion on, because you mentioned before, it's not a good idea to celebrate raising money. It's a better idea to celebrate like once you're actually turning a profit, which is the point of a business. And even if you have crazy growth, 500%, 1,000% year-over-year growth, even if you get bought out by another company, that company will eventually turn it into profit. That is the point. Google, Meta, Apple, I mean, these guys make massive amounts of profit, which allows them to go purchase up all these companies. But so what's your opinion on right now? Because the tech sector, you're in the tech sector, went through a massive correction in 2022. And so right now, some founders, the company is worth less than the amount of money they raised. What's going to happen? Like, that's I wouldn't want to be in that disaster. What happens to the founders? Because they have to pay back the investors first.
That's why a lot of companies will go belly up. And, again, another problem with raising. You raise $3-5 million and you raise it at $50 million valuation.
Yeah.
I mean, you want as a founder, you want the highest valuation possible, but that means you have something to live up to, right? And as soon as you do what's known as a down round, which means if you raise another round subsequent to that at a lower valuation, that's a down round. That's where things could start to spiral, right? So there's a lot of things.
Sometimes right now, correct me if I'm wrong, less so now, but last year, people were trying to raise more money because they ran out of money. They had no more money.
Yeah.
And a lot of VCs were like, look, I listen to the All In podcast. This is where I get all the information. You listen to them too, I think, right?
Yeah.
All In bro. If you're in the startup, listen to it. They're VC guys. They're all VC guys. You should be listening to them.
I only listen to Freemium Podcast and Spit and Chicklets.
But you would like it. Seriously, All In Podcast.
Okay.
They're all VC guys.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I've heard of it before. Yeah, they
have a couple million listeners. Yeah. I listen every single Saturday, like religiously. I put it on. I love listening to them. Very, very, very interesting. They've had, they just had the All In Summit. They had Elon on there. They had Larry Summers. They had Ray Dalio. They had they're heavy hitters, these guys, and they're based out of San Francisco. All VC guys from the Bay Area. So, but where was I going with this? What were we talking about?
You were talking about the fundraiser or just over raising, and then
so on the burn. So basically, like the guys, the All In podcasters, because they're all VCs, were pounding the fist, going, guys, there's going to be no more money in a couple of months if you don't get your house in order. Yeah, and you have to accept the fact. David, not Freeberg, David. I forget his last name, but he's one of the guests, one of the hosts on the podcast, was saying, if you do not have 100% year-over-year growth right now, you have to switch from a VC model, because they're not going to be investing in you, over to a private equity model. If you want to switch to a private equity model, what does that mean? You need margins now. You have to have profit now. There will be no more money for you in 6 months. So stop. There has to be an exit here planned.
Right.
And a lot of founders didn't want to listen, and like what you said earlier, they don't exist anymore.
Yeah. Well, and they have to extend their runway too, right? You need to make sure that typically when you raise, you might buy yourself 12 to 18 months runway. Now we're looking at 2 to 3 years runway.
Yeah.
You need to make sure that you have enough money in the bank to survive, to wait out those next 2-3 years for the market to recover. Yeah. Which is tough to do as well.
Yeah.
But there's no, everybody celebrates these fundraisers, but nobody celebrates the bootstrap businesses, right? The businesses that still tech, still startups, but they don't raise any money, and they just create, there's a whole movement of these companies that just are doing just crazy numbers, and they haven't raised at all. But they fly under the radar.
Profitable right off the bat.
Exactly. Well, maybe not profitable off the bat, but they find their way to profitability. Especially if you're in tech has crazy high margins, right? Because it's software. Yeah. We fall into the bucket of SaaS, which is software as a service, and it's really easy to scale. So, I mean, personally, if I could build a business that is, tens of millions of dollars in valuation, but I own a higher percentage of it and have no investors breathing down my neck all the time versus raising and getting to hundreds or billions of dollars of valuation, I would choose the former just because that's just kind of my...
Yeah, less of more is still more.
Exactly. Yeah.
When you're measuring the success of your business, because you're in, so you just said you're in your SaaS business, software as a service.
Sure. Yeah.
What's the most important metric? Is it annual recurring revenue? Is it like customer acquisition? What's the big, and I know there's probably a few metrics that you look at. What are some of the big metrics you look at to measure the success of Moast?
Yeah, I think the ones I look at daily are like how many customers are using our platform right now.
Okay.
You know, I want to see that number growing and getting more like solid use cases on the program, on the platform.
Yeah.
And then after that, you just can't help but look at MRR, like your
Monthly recurring revenue?
Exactly.
Okay, so it's MRR, ARs, annual. Okay, so
yeah.
same thing. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And I would say those are the two. And then there's some metrics that are specific to our business, like how many interactions are happening on this platform, right? How many shoppers are messaging? We call them hosts. A host is someone that's showing off their product. How many times people or brands are seeing these messages go back and forth? How many hosts a brand has on their platform? So those are more specific to us. But yeah, I think those would be the high level ones.
For someone starting a startup business, so what were the actual startup costs for Moast? Like what did you have to put into the business? It could be zero. It could be like, how much money did you and Maestro have to put in to start this business?
Initially, like our burn is like a few $100s a month. Like it's
nil.
Yeah, and we were so lucky again to meet Andrew. So Andrew's our CTO. He's based out of Ottawa. He has 25 years of software engineering experience, and we found him. You know, we met him through kind of through a different platform, and you know, and bringing him on board, he saw the vision, he saw the potential of this product, and he decided to come on board as, you know, an equal founder, but not take a salary, right? So had we had to hire a CTO, if you're non-technical, you need a CTO to build a tech startup, right?
Yeah.
And if you have to hire them, that's a completely different game. But if you can, you know, sell the idea and you have a good vision and you could kind of create some initial traction, then you could bring on your CTO as a partner, and then that makes things more lean. So so our position was unique in that sense, because, you know, it's easy to start something where your only costs are servers and website hosting and some you know, marketing platforms and things like that.
So the upfront cost for you guys are off the
virtually
bat
nothing.
Okay.
But it's our time, right? Because from the very beginning, we were spending our full time on this and just doing, you know, a few hours at night to work with some clients to keep the bills on. But we've been all in on this since the very beginning.
And so you guys now, is it just you three?
It's just us three, and we have kind of a few different contractors we work with as well. Yeah.
Got it. And are you hoping to get to a point where you can hire some employees? I guess obviously that's the plan. Like, so are you still right now though doing the marketing on the side, or this is you're 100% full time with Moast now?
Yeah, we've kept a few kind of good customers on the side that, you know, are easy to work with from the marketing side of things, but we're pretty much all in full time on Moast.
So you're pretty confident about this idea?
No, I mean, yes. I don't know. Yes, I think it's going in the right direction. We're seeing a lot of great results, having good traction.
Yeah,
it's a startup. I mean, some weeks I wake up and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Like, I look at my wife and I'm like, this is torture. Like, it's really tough. And then other weeks I wake up and I'm on top of the world and I'm like, this is going to be the next big thing, right? Like, and there's no in between. There's really no in between. It's either an up week or a down week.
Yeah.
And it's a constant roller coaster, but that roller coaster is trending upwards overall. Like, if you were to, you know, take a step back and look at the graph, and oftentimes you just see that kind of endpoint, right? You see like the beginning, okay, this guy's starting this, and then you see the end and there's some level of success and you don't see the in between. And you're just like, oh, like, that was cool. And there's also this, and this is kind of the anxiety of coming on, like, you know, your podcast and talking about this is like, there's that
anything we can edit anything out.
No,
want,
this
so don't
is
worry about
I have
that.
no problem with it, but you know, it's just also there's that very real public failure that could come from this. I mean, we could wake up in 2 months and something goes wrong
anymore. Yeah.
and we have to shut this thing down, and you know, and that's an anxiety that lives in the back of your head too.
You know what though? You could look at it the other way too. Just saying, well, I've made it public. I'm telling everyone that I'm running this company Moast, and it puts that extra layer of added pressure to make sure that you're going to do everything you can within your power to make sure the company succeeds. It can go both ways, you know?
Yeah,
so
I mean, we're there.
What entails, so you just said you have weeks that are absolutely fantastic or on top of the world. And then you have down weeks. What entails a down week? Like, why would you have a down week?
Just slow demos being booked, slow like feedback on sales. Maybe lose like a prospect that you're like really close to signing, and then that falls through. I mean, we've had some good signals. Like we have virtually no churn. Like no one signs up on our platform and stops after getting started, which is good. But I mean, if we lose some of our top customers for whatever, there's macroeconomic events that could affect that. There's maybe our platform is not serving them as well as it should be, and they cancel. Those would all be things that would keep me up at night. Like literally keep me up at night.
What? I just had a question in my head. Yes. Okay. When I was on your website, and this is one thing about building a website, I'm sure you know, because I've gone through this. Like, I can't build a website myself, but I'll quarterback everything for the website. And you can ask 10 different people about, hey, what do you think I should improve my website right now on a specific web page? 10 people will give you 10 different answers. If there's one thing I could say is on your website, when I wanted to see what the product actually did, but I had to book a demo. I understand that you want to speak to them, and that's fine. Yeah. But I feel like if it's possible to actually just give a little demo, like a 2 or 3 minute video on the website itself first to see what the product actually does, and then give them the option to book a demo. Just an idea for me, because I'm like, well, I don't want to book a demo. I just want to kind of see what the product does.
Did you see the See Live demo button that's floating on the bottom left?
No, I didn't.
If you click that button, it kind of pops up the interactive maps, and it's like a demo map, so you could kind of see.
I didn't. You're gonna have to make that more.
More visible. Click. Sure, that's good.
I didn't see it because I wanted before the podcast. I'm like, just to get a better understanding of what Moast does, and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna waste your guys' time and book a demo. And then I thought, well, you know what? There's probably some other clients too that want to see what it does. Like, I don't want to speak to some guy. They're gonna put pressure on me to buy it and da-da-da. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. No, that's okay. So it's so funny. 2 weeks ago, someone pops on our live chat. We have that live chat on the website, and he's like, here's a bit of feedback. Just thought you might want to see this. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, click the link. Because he drops a link to like a screen recording, and I look, it's 42 minutes long, and it's 42 minutes of him combing through our website and just absolutely destroying it. Like
it's a guy with a lot of time on his hands.
Oh my God, he was in Australia, and he's like. He picked apart every single word and said, why are you using this word? Why? Like, and he would talk himself through trying to understand what we did. And I was like, you know what? Like, part of it was actually helpful to see someone else's, but I was like, like you said, I could ask 10 different people and they'll have 10 different
answers.
Yeah. And it's tough, but
yeah,
it's constantly changing. Go on our website in 2 weeks from now and you'll see a different tagline. You'll see different,
that's the cool thing. That's the cool thing about website. You A/B test everything.
Yeah.
Like everything. You just A/B test it. So it's just like, well, I think this is going to be better. No, I think this is going to be better. Well, A/B test it.
Yeah.
And there was this one website they had, man, it looked like it was a landing page. It was so spammy and just like tacky.
Who's they?
Just this random company on the website and stuff. It was a YouTube video, and the guy was explaining about it. And so someone was asking him a question like, dude, you should probably change up this landing page. It's really tacky. And he goes, bro, I know. He goes, we've A/B tested like 10 or 15 different variations. It works. So we just keep it there. And like, what are you supposed to say that? Okay, we'll keep it there. If you're getting, it's like the same thing. Some people think that, like Amazon, I find it a little bit clunky, but the functionality of it is absolutely perfect. Like anyone who's suggesting to change like that website to make it a little prettier, knows absolutely nothing about e-commerce and like user metrics or anything like that. It's like you never do that. If something's working and it's converting, you can A/B test little things. You can't all of a sudden drastically change a website like that. You're asking for trouble. That'd be the dumbest thing in the world.
The danger is using your own intuition, right? Like I would work with clients all the time. We'd be running ads and they'd be like, use this picture, use this tagline. And I'd be like, no, we'll use that, but like, don't assume that that's going to be the one that wins, right? Let's just make data-driven decisions.
Of course. I totally agree. That's one thing about marketing. Running Google Ads. I run my own Google Ads. Okay. That's one thing Google Ads taught me. You think like, oh yeah, this is going to hit. And it sucks.
Just let the numbers tell you.
Yeah. Same thing with us. We're making videos sometimes. It's just like, sometimes we make a video, we think it's going to slap. sucks. Sometimes you make a video, I don't think it's gonna do that well, and it like hits.
Yeah. Sometimes you change the color of a button from blue to red, and all of a sudden that button gets clicked on more, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you never know. You really never know.
That's the thing about A/B testing. It's it takes the human element out of it, and it's just strictly data driven, and just go with the data. It's like I work in insurance. Every decision I make is based off of data, and rates are what they are. It's like, why does an 18-year-old boy pay more in car insurance than an 18-year-old girl? Well, look at the data. It's like, it's clear as day.
Yeah, you can't argue with that.
18-year-old boys have way more accidents, so they're gonna get charged more. It's not sexist. It's not like racist. It's not. They have more accidents. Like it is what it is.
Yeah.
I want to get into work from home. What's your opinion?
Well, I work from home, so it works for me.
Yeah.
Obviously, the pandemic created a big shift in how people think about working from home.
Yep.
Look, I know how you feel about this.
And we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, and look, it doesn't work for everyone. It doesn't work for everyone. It doesn't work for every company. But look, for I could talk about myself and my experience. So my co-founders and I, we all work from home, and it works quite well. And why would we invest in office space right now just to kind of spend some time commuting and have that overhead?
I'm going to push back just for 1 second though, but
Sure.
you're all founders and you all have skin in the game. So
Sure.
a little bit different, but continue.
Yeah, and then once you start hiring too, like your early hires are going to be, you have to find a way to motivate them and incentivize them to the same extent that you're motivated and incentivized, right? And early hires at startups will have some equity component to their compensation, so that's there too. I think that you build the right kind of operations, communications, and things to keep you on track. So that's important too, to have a good setup on working from home. And yes, when you hit a certain size and the company starts growing, it's going to be hard to keep track of everything. But I think there's a lot of advantages to it.
So
go, because I know you're going to give me the other side.
There are certain advantages to it, of course. But let me ask you this. If you guys had, poof, you snap your fingers, you have 500,000 AR. Okay, so you're making $500,000 a year, annual recurring revenue. So next year, it's pretty certain you're gonna have another 500,000 just by not even having to do anything. Let's make it even better. You got $1 million AR. Okay?
Perfect.
You're telling me you wouldn't have an office?
Would I personally have an office? Maybe. I would maybe get some space
not you
for myself.
Personally, most.
So look, so right there, Andrew is in Ottawa. Can't have an office with him. He's not going to relocate to Montreal.
Different for him though, because he has equity. So, but let's take someone
for
else.
Our employees. So here's the biggest argument in favor of remote work is the talent pool becomes instantly bigger if you're hiring remote. Because if I have an office, that also means that all my employees live in Montreal. And can I hire the best talent relevant to my business by sticking to Montreal? Yes, there is that. But I mean, if I open it up, and I look across the country, if I look in the US, if I look offshore, right, there's a ton of great talent. Then I could do that without having to open an office. And how much is office spaces these days?
We pay $23 a square foot after tax, after everything. So put that into perspective. So it's like you got 10,000 square feet, you're paying $230,000 a year.
Okay. Yeah. So what can I do with $230,000 a year if I don't invest in office space?
You can do other stuff for sure.
And and so you're going to argue that maybe there's a lack of productivity from my staff. Sure. And that is kind of culture, right? Like that should be top down and you could deal with that in different ways. So assuming that you're able to kind of weed those people out and work on improving that productivity, I mean, I'm left with $230,000 of play money that I could use to kind of scale the business further. I mean, there's that opportunity cost there as well that you have to look at.
I get that too, but it's like, okay, so here, I'll push back now. So it's like the same people, I find not all people, we actually have quite a few people that work from home that are very consistent. They work hard and are quite productive. I would not be okay with our core group of people. So in every business, there's a core group of people that drive the growth.
Yeah.
Right. It's usually there's actually like mathematical equation. It's the square root. So let's say, for example, you have 64 employees. It's the square root of how many employees you have, generally speaking, that drive the growth of the company. So if you had 64, 8 people will drive the company. It's the same thing as I was speaking to our construction buddy the other day too. And I'm like, just out of curiosity, you know, they have, I think, a 300 or 350 employees, whatever it is. I go, how many people like drive the business? You know, he goes 15, 20. So those people there, no, I wouldn't be okay with them working from home. They need to be around. They're cultural co-founders. They have influence. They're there to motivate. But then, so there's that. And then when I go on TikTok or any other social media platform and I look at these people going, you know, they're complaining about how their employers want them to come back into the office. Yeah. And they'll make a TikTok going, have I missed any deadlines? Have I done everything you said? And, you know, the answer is like, no, you haven't missed anything, but we still want you back in the office. That same creator, 2 days later, will make a TikTok about how it's Friday at 2 p.m. and they're taking off. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know, from an employer perspective, I get a little bit frustrated sometimes when, let's say, for example, it's 2 p.m. on a certain day and I call someone when they're working from home and they don't answer the phone, they don't call me back 30 minutes later. I'm not fucking stupid. Like, I know you're not, I know you're out. Yeah. And then we were talking about this too, there's subreddits and stuff like that of people that were, you know, like whatever system there will always be someone who's going to try and hack the system. Sure. And you have people working 2, 3, 4 jobs, doing the bare minimum, getting paid 4 different salaries.
It's that overemployed community. OE, it's known as. Like, they'll try to see how many jobs they can do at once. They
don't care.
Yeah, they'll do the bare minimum. But again, I mean, then that comes back to the hiring team, the culture of the company. Like, how are they getting away with that? Like,
but the culture, there is a lot less of a culture when everyone's working from home. How are you supposed to have a culture if you've never met your coworkers?
I mean, first of all, the motivators are clearly not there. I mean, there should be bigger factors that lead to the employee wanting to contribute, right? And not wanting to kind of, in a way, it's stealing from the company. I agree. If you're not working for 3 hours, and you're getting paid for those, 3 hours from 2 to 5 on Friday and you're not there, you're stealing from the company. Yeah. I know a guy that, he wasn't busy enough. This is why he did this, but he wasn't busy enough at work, and he found a way to make himself appear online all day long without, on Teams, he found a way of making his profile appear online. Yeah. And he would just go off and do his own thing all day, but he wasn't busy enough. And then when he got busy, he was working, right? But because, and I know that this is a good topic for us to be on either side of it. I'm not totally on the remote work side because I know that it doesn't make sense for everyone, and at a certain scale too, it doesn't make sense. There was another anecdote about working from home that I just thought was so funny. But yeah, it's tough. And I don't know, I would never put numbers on it. If you're less than 12, staff, it makes sense to work from home. Or if you're more than, I think there's pros and cons for your business. And I think that, also if you don't have, do you have a hybrid system here?
Yeah.
Okay. So the hybrid system helps, right? People want that, that ability to have certain days. And if they don't, then you're kind of closing off some of your talent pool, right? Because your employees have to now commute every day to come to the office. There's traffic, there's construction. That's the pandemic changed everything because people realized how much more time they put in their pocket by working from home.
Yeah. I get it. And it's not a one size fits all. I understand the arguments for fully remote. I'm in the camp that believes you should be in the office. It depends on the company, it depends on the size, it depends on, there's a bunch of factors. It's not, it's just not one size fits all. But if I came companies, to you, but I just keep going back to the companies, the companies that really drive the world, and they probably have different motivations because they have so much power. So I don't think it's so much, yes, it's making money, but I think it's a power thing too at that point, like a Google or an Apple or a JP Morgan. I mean, JP Morgan, the biggest bank in the US or second biggest bank, they have a lot of influence, they have political influence. Mm-hmm. And so their top executives, I think it's all the staff now, but it's their mentality is it's a privilege to work here. You don't want to work here. There's a lineup of 100 people over there. Yeah. And so I'll get them into the office no problem. You don't want to be here every day? No problem. I'll go get him. Right. Whereas I don't have that luxury. You don't have that luxury. So we kind of have to negotiate a little bit more with employees. Yeah. But companies like that, or a Google or a Meta, I mean, Google right now they mandate, I think it's every day back in the office. Amazon's 3 days back in the office. I think also too, no one ever really talks about this. It was interesting, the timing, because they knew they were going to lay off a bunch of workers.
Yeah.
And I think that saying, well, come back to the office or you're fired, made it that much easier to fire them.
Because people didn't want to, and they were okay.
Well, they knew already, like Amazon coming in, or let's say Meta laid off 20,000 people, whatever it was, tens of thousands of people that they laid off. Yeah. I bet you the first step was, okay, you guys got to come back to the office. They already knew they had to fire, example, 15,000 people. Yeah. And they're like, okay, so of all the people here that we need to be back in the office, let's say of the 10,000, 3,000 of them are going to say they quit. Perfect. Now it's 3,000 people. We don't have to give a severance package. Yeah. We don't have to give this. We don't have to give that. Makes them look better.
Yeah. The headline doesn't read 10,000. It reads 7,000. Yeah. So let me ask you this. If let's say I'm an employee here that has a good track record of being productive and reliable, and I came to you tomorrow and I said, hey, Curtis, can I go work from Portugal for a month?
No.
Your answer is
different time zone?
Okay, same time zone. Mexico.
Nope.
No.
No chance.
Okay.
No fucking chance.
Yeah.
We had someone like that.
It's a dangerous precedent, I guess, actually, because then
they asked,
that opens the door.
We had a guy who did that. He was fully remote, and he was going to go work he was moving to, I forget exactly where he was moving, but completely different time zone. He was going to go there for a while. He asked, can I work? No.
But if he's giving you the same output,
bro,
why does it matter?
8 hour time difference.
Oh, the time difference could be a bit rough because that affects communication. But time difference aside, if the output is the same, why does it matter where they are? Especially if it's someone that works more in like a silo where they don't need to be collaborative as often. And
I mean, look, if they were to be 100% as productive, in theory, which never happens or rarely happens. But in theory, yeah, I would have no problem with it. But here's another thing that employees need to understand. You're sending a message, and if this is your intention, then this is okay. But when you ask to work 100% from home, I take that as a message of, I'm not really here to help build this. I'm here to collect a check. And I'm okay with that. You know, like most businesses, those are the people that are going to work for you, and that's fine. You want to come in at 9, leave at 5, collect your check, get the hell out of here. Like, I'm not working extra. I'm paid to do this. I'm going to do that. And I'm not criticizing that. That's fine. But it's like, if you're someone that wants to have upward mobility in a company and you ask to be 100% remote, don't expect to get that upward mobility. It's not going to happen. Yeah. So it's like, it sends a signal to us, or if we're hiring someone, do you guys do 100% remote? We already know what we're going to get from that person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Versus someone who wants to, we just hired someone who he didn't like working 100% remote because he's like, yo, I'm lonely. When I go into the office, no one's at the office. Yeah. Because I don't know any of my coworkers. Yeah. I feel alone all the time. I'm alone all day. I want to be around people. I want to talk to people. I want to, there's different types of people, different personalities, different types of businesses. We can go on for hours and hours about the
No, and I think the bottom line is, like, you just, as a company, you kind of set your standards for work and you stick to that. And some companies have found success. It's more in the tech startup space that companies have adopted remote work. Yeah. Because it's their jobs that you could do remotely, right? Like, coding is something that you have to kind of be in a quiet space, be focused, and that's what works best for you. And it's very easy to measure your output. But
I still think that ultimately the most productive companies are the ones where they're going to have 100% in the office, or have like a hybrid system where it's 3-4 days in the office. Google, just the same point I made earlier, Google, Meta, Apple, these guys have the luxury of having a lineup of people that want to work there. Mm-hmm. And, they do this for a reason. They're not stupid. And they know that people are more productive when they're in the office. Therefore, they're making people be in the office. Other companies, other tech companies don't have that luxury. They have to take what they can get. They're not going to get the best, the Picasso CTO that Apple or Meta has. They can't afford them, and they're not going to get them. Yeah. Therefore, they have to kind of negotiate more with the employees. This is my opinion anyway. So it's like, fuck, we can't get anyone unless we give 100% remote. Yeah. In an ideal world, if I had to bet, they'd probably say, like, if you could snap your fingers and same salary, same everything, would you rather have all your employees in every day or 100% remote? I bet you 90% of the founders would say I want them in the office.
Yeah.
They just don't have that luxury.
Yeah. Well, and like it's like apples and oranges, right? Those companies that you're naming have offices in all the major cities too.
Yes,
so
that's
to
true.
say I want you in the office, and they're attracting talent pools from LA, San Francisco, Austin, Boston, New York, like they have offices there. So it's easy to say, okay, I'm going to recruit from the talent pool in this city. And
that's true.
But I mean, if I'm a company in Iowa and I need to compete with these big companies, I pick that state out of nowhere. Nothing against there, but
it's a good point,
right? Like if I say, okay, I'm hiring remote, all of a sudden I could find people that are in LA or in different cities. And then remote too. I mean, you think if I get to work remotely, I could and. I mean, this is another debate is like, do you pay someone based on the state that they're living in? Right.
Yeah.
But like someone I know, he works remotely for a company and he travels while he works and his salary adjusts based on where his base is on a monthly basis.
Interesting.
And they built this whole program so you could be nomadic, but wherever you are, wherever your base is, that's where your salary is.
I think they did that for employee/tax laws as well. I heard a little bit about this.
It gets complicated.
Yes.
It gets really complicated.
Because there was, because during the layoffs and stuff, so people were getting laid off and so you would hire them when they lived in New York, for example. Now they're living in Florida, example. And there's all different, it's like, well, shit, do we follow the employment law in Florida or in New York
But think about that for a second. If I need to attract the top talent and I need to compete with Google and Facebook, and I go out there and I say, here's my offer to you. You could work remotely, better than work remotely. You could work wherever you want in the world. I'll adjust your salary accordingly. I'll give you all the tools to file your taxes and make sure that you're compliant with tax law wherever you work. You're going to have this incredible salary. You're going to have all these stock options. If you kind of structure this way, do you think that employee is then going to turn around and do whatever he wants and not like give the output accordingly? I mean, I've seen that work, right? Like I've seen people.
But do those companies actually end up being successful?
Well, now they're able to pull an engineer away from Google, Apple, Facebook, and that engineer could also get paid salaries that
I get the point. I get the point that you're trying to say, but like naming one of these companies. I'm completely naive to this. I'm not in the tech space, but it's like, so these companies that are hiring these people from everywhere and all over the place and saying, hey, you can work wherever you want, whenever you want, just do this. Like, name me a company that's doing that, that's having success.
I mean, I don't know if I would name companies that you would know of because there's a lot of obscure startups.
But there's companies, they have a profit, they have an actual business model, they're making money. Yeah. They're not just like living off venture capital money and stuff. No, it's profitable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. It's all about attracting talent, right? And people find different ways of doing that. So,
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I want to talk a little about the podcast life. What was that like? Because you did 10 episodes. Why'd you stop?
Yeah. Why did we stop? I think that also kind of overlapped with COVID, and then we had to kind of do them remotely and didn't really want to do that.
Not the same.
Also stopped for Card Anchor, right? We started focusing on that too. But it's phenomenal. I mean, just being able to sit down with someone and have a conversation with them. I mean, these are people that they wouldn't have taken my phone call under any other context or circumstance, right?
Yeah.
And we'd go to their offices. We did paper. Phil Cutler, I'm sure a lot of people
I know the name, Phil Cutler.
Yeah, Phil Cutler paper. It used to be Grade Slam, but they raised like their last round valued them at like 1.5 billion, and he was our very first episode on Montreal Startups.
Oh, this guy, that's like the education.
Yeah, ed tech. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was our first episode.
He's from Montreal, I think, right? Yeah. Does he still live here, or did he move to?
No, I think he's still here. Yeah,
he's still here.
Yeah.
So it's remote education, right? More or less.
Yeah, it's changed a few times, but in a nutshell.
Yeah, there's this guy I know that works there as well. He was one of the early people to start working there. Jacob, I forget his last name.
Geller.
Yes, Jacob Geller.
Yeah.
He was there as well. I should ask Jacob to come on the podcast next.
Yeah.
Jacob, come on the pod. Hit me up. I'll hit you up first, actually.
He probably thinks it's weird that I just know his name because we've maybe, I don't know, met a few times, but he came up recently in conversation.
Jacob?
So, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know him really well. I know that we both went to Point Claire Parks program when we were younger.
Yeah.
Different parks, but I know him from there. So.
Yeah.
But yeah. So the pod, it's do you find it like the thing I have the most, I don't want to say the most trouble with, but the thing that's important, it's difficult staying consistent.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite a bit of work. I'm fortunate enough where I basically just, so what we have right now is I'll reach out to all the guests. I have a pretty good network and stuff like that. And most people, I think you would agree, they like coming on a podcast. Some people will go, no, absolutely not. I don't want to have my face on, and that's fine too. Yeah. Just don't come with a pod. But a lot of people like to come on a pod, discuss it, and share their opinion, share their point of view and stuff like that. Yep. But if I had to do the editing as well and the posting, like forget it. Yeah. We have a team to do that. I know this is the only reason why I still have a podcast.
Yeah. Well, like that was one of the things that we set out to when we started. It was like, if we're going to do this, let's do it right. Like, I don't want to put out like a shitty podcast with bad quality and all that. Yeah. And Steve's background was, he was a DJ. So he's very good with audio files. So he's like, perfect. He could edit it, make it sound good and crisp. So they came out well. They're fun to do. I mean, it's saturated now. There are so many podcasts out there. But yeah, I mean, they're fun. They're definitely fun.
I heard this interesting stat the other day. It said, if you hit over 10 episodes, what was the stat? I think it's 10 episodes or 12 episodes, and you do one every week, you're already in the top 5% of podcasts. Because 95% of podcasters, they start a podcast and they realize how much work it is. They go, fuck this, I'm out of here, and they stop. Yeah. So, Shem, we're in the top 5% of all podcasts.
Congrats. That's celebratory
by default.
Worthy. Oh, that's a nice touch.
I like that. Jesus Christ.
I mean, and your production level is on another level too.
Can you do that again? Damn, dude.
He had that queued up.
Yeah, he did. I didn't even know he could do that.
He had that saved for something else I was going to say. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you have like a boom boom psh? No. Trying to load. No. Oh, yeah, I like that one.
That's intro music.
Yeah, dude, we got to switch up the intro. I like that for the intro. Let's start using that. We'll switch it up. Shem, you want to say anything? He never likes to be on camera or say anything. No. Football. I don't follow football. Who's your team?
I don't follow football.
I thought you did. You're a hockey guy, eh? Just straight up hockey?
Yeah.
Okay, so here, before we end up, if most doesn't work? It sounds like it is going to work. I think you got something here. If most doesn't work, do you have any ideas already that maybe you would like to bring to life? No. My brain capacity is entirely dedicated to Most and my little family. So it's, I really don't. I don't know. If it didn't work, I'd take some time and get back to the drawing board eventually, I think. But let's hope it doesn't get to that. And the most difficult thing for Most right now, and this is my guess, just because this is the most difficult part for any business, really, it would be selling the product and people to use the product. Is that the most difficult part right now? Is it building the website? Is it? Yeah, getting people to consistently book demos is always a challenge, right? You want to, even our investors set a goal to be doing 5 demos a week on a consistent basis. That's tough because you have to develop different streams of acquiring those demos to do a lot of like cold outreach. I saw actually you spoke about cold outreach on LinkedIn and stuff at some point. Yeah. We do that. We have to do that, and it works. Because I think you're questioning whether it works. It does work. It does? It works in volume, right? You have to go through like a big volume to find success with it. Yeah. It's annoying, but I mean it's part of the hustle. But there's inbound and outbound. So our outbound is kind of the manual outreach. We actually just hired a team that's doing cold calling. Do you guys do cold calling here? No. Eh? We did. We actually stopped it last week. You stopped? Oh yeah? Yeah. Why? As of last week. Dude, cold calling is so difficult to manage because I'll tell you why. So we had a telemarketing team. The turnover is so high. So we had someone, he actually just left last week. He went to go work in logistics. Great guy. And so he was running the team. The amount of training that you need to do for these people to come on. I mean, you're cold calling. Hi, can I speak to them? You have to have a pitch. Yeah. And like the most important part on a cold call, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Your tone is so important. So if you're speaking with like a dud over the phone, you know what it's like. You're not going to give them the time of day, even if you have the best script. Yeah. So all this to say, the training part was so difficult and so intensive because the turnover is so high. it's a telemarketing job. I mean, you're hiring kids. They're making they're not making a lot of
money. You hired a company to bring on the team to cold calling?
We did all this in-house.
Oh, you did it all in-house?
Telemarketing, we did all in-house.
Okay, so I should set you up with a company, Tactic Growth. Shout out Tactic. They'll kind of build the team around your objectives, and it's all outsourced. So they bring the reps too. They train the reps. They'll give you SDRs, SDMs, and it's all kind of outsourced. And they can scale up and down with how many reps you want. They're fantastic. We just started with them.
Yeah?
Yeah, we could talk after this. You should speak to them.
I'm not in the mood to speak to anyone about telemarketing right now because I was so discouraged about it. And then here's the other part that was discouraging. And I'm not shitting on the people that work here. There's only so many people, because we tried telemarketing a couple of years ago, and it actually worked really, really, really well. We had a couple of sharpshooters. They were hockey guys at Concordia who happened to be really good on the phones. And most of them ended up becoming brokers. So they graduated, became insurance brokers. But before that, they were cold callers. Shamar actually started off as a cold caller as well. But so here's the thing. We would be getting the leads. We had a dialer and everything. They would get the leads. We'd have hot transfers ready to be given to brokers, but they'd all be busy on the phone. So even when we got the leads, we didn't even have anyone available to take the leads.
Right.
So just the mix of,
That's a good problem to have.
It's a good problem to have, but not when you're spending like $10,000 a month on the marketing,
right? On
the telemarketing,
right?
It's like with the labor, the dialer, the this, the that. It's about $10,000 a month.
Yeah,
and so you have to be bringing in a certain amount of people. I gave it like 8 months, and every month was short.
Yeah,
and I was just like, it's.
Well, you probably have some learning from that and sit on it for a while and then try again.
Yeah, I'll try again for the third or fourth time.
I did it myself to start because that's what they say. To get started, you should do the first 200 to 500 calls yourself to get to know the pitch, to get to know the script, and that way you hand something off with a little bit of a base.
Yeah.
Oh God, it was the hardest thing.
That's how I started working here. I started off.
Just cold calling.
Cold calling before I had my license.
I mean,
I'd go in every day.
Yeah.
I got really good at it.
Yeah. Yeah, you get better. You just have to learn to just kind of understand that it's not personal and it's just it's
a conversation.
Yeah, it's a conversation, but you get a lot of like assholes on the other line.
You get a lot of assholes, but you know what? Most of the time, the people who are assholes like that, 99% of them will not be an asshole like that to your face. They're very brave over the phone. Yeah. And if you were to actually meet them face to face, they wouldn't be brave enough to actually act like that again. So like telemarketers, they just have to kind of, most of them don't take it personally at the end. But yeah, it's like I started doing that for like 3 months or 4 months, like just cold calling. I come in every day from 6 to 8 at night.
Wow.
And I would.
Oh yeah, because that's the time you want to reach people at home. Yeah.
I got very good at it. I made a couple sales off it.
Yeah. That's the way to do it.
It works
to get started. Yeah, you got to knock on doors.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you'll get because the numbers are, it's 1 out of 100. 2 out of 100 is really good. Yeah. You're literally 1 out of 100 is going to be your closing ratio.
Yeah.
So 99% of people are going to say no. And out of the so let's just say out of the 100, if you have one of them, you're going to close one. You'll probably get 15 of them that are going to be somewhat interested, and 10 of those 15 are going to completely fucking waste your time.
Yeah.
And 4 of them are going to do whatever. They're going to ghost you. Or sometimes, like for an insurance, they might even be interested, but I can't beat the price that they're paying. Example.
Right.
There's stuff like that too that happens where it's like, dude, I'd give you the business, but I'm not going to switch to pay more in insurance, which is, who would. Yeah, that's just my experience with telemarketing. Why did you hate it?
Just like the phone's ringing. The person on the other end is not expecting this call, is not going to be happy to receive this call, right? They're always busy. Like we're doing this during the day with, catching people while they're working because, it's B2B. And, most were receptive, especially when it's like, when you introduce yourself as the founder, they're a little bit more like, okay, like I get it. Like you're just hustling.
Yeah, you're hustling. Yeah.
But just a lot of just hang-ups or like not like the worst is like when you're pitching someone, they hang up mid-sentence and you're like, oh, wow, that did not feel good. But yeah, you have to do it. And you have to just kind of close your mind off to it and be like, this is just, you're doing this to grow the business. And, but I just couldn't wait for the day that I could like outsource this and take it off my plate.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Dude, I watched this. We'll finish with this. I watched this documentary called Telemarketers the other day on Crave. Holy shit.
It's called
Telemarketers.
It's called Telemarketers.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's called Telemarketers. And what was happening, so it's a group of telemarketers. It's a company. The founders were never there. And the people that work there, I mean, when you're having like 40, when they're like 30 years old and plus, people who are still doing 100% telemarketers, they can be interesting to say the least. So these guys at the office, they didn't give a fuck. You could drink, you could smoke. People were doing drugs at the office. People like anything went.
It's like party culture.
Half the people, well, they're just like, I don't want to say rejects, but they're like, they're telemarketers. And half of them had a criminal record. So anyways, so these guys would call on behalf of, it was the police or the fire department or veterans and stuff like that. And so they would call and be like, hey, would you like to make a donation? We're calling on behalf of the fireman department of whatever. We'd like to make a donation. And people would be like, are you the fire department or you're calling on behalf of? And they'd be like, on behalf of. So all that to say, they'd make about $5 million a year in revenue. It's nothing like crazy, but they would give most of it, they would keep for themselves, and they would give money back to the fire department, and that'd be that.
Okay.
They ended up switching the pitch. And they switched the pitch to, hi, we are the fire department. We're calling for money. So the money went from $5 million a year. They started making $250 million a year. And this is where it gets interesting. The police departments and the fire departments were in on it because on the paychecks for the telemarketers, they were getting paid by the fire department and by like the police department, by the Veterans Affairs department. Yeah. So everyone was in on it. The FTC only gave a $20 million fine to the founders. But imagine going from $5 million to $250 million, pretending to be the police, saying, hey, give us some money. Right. And people were giving money because they want to support the police. They want to support veterans. They want to support all this type of stuff. And you're stealing money.
Yeah. Oof. But that's what, telemarketer probably has the same rap as like used car salesman.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like you're a telemarketer and or you the phone rings, you pick it up, it's someone you don't know, and right away everything in your brain shuts off.
You're on the
for
defense.
This person. Yeah, exactly.
You're on the defense. Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure documentaries like that do not help that. They don't help that industry at all.
No, they certainly don't.
Yeah.
They certainly don't.
What's the golf league like here for the virtual sim?
The KBD Golf League. So every Friday afternoon, as soon as the outdoor golf season is done, we start bringing the boys in. So it's it takes a while. It's like a 3-hour round.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, depending on how many beers you have. So Friday around 3:34, 4:30.
Podcast alumni are invited, I assume.
Yeah, I'll bring you in.
Okay.
You have to bring your wallet though. We gamble.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm a founder though. Not small checks, please.
Okay, so we'll make big gambles, and if you lose, you can give me some equity.
Oh, okay, we'll talk. Got to get my partner's sign off.
Okay, sounds good.
That's fun though. That when I see, that's the stuff that gets you in the office.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Like I assume someone wants to take a break and go hit some balls. They're allowed to.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, no one's used it in a while, but once the winter comes around, I think there's something wrong with it right now. But it's like. Dude, it's fantastic. Yeah. I love it. I'm very happy that we
That's a nice
it.
addition.
Well, when we moved here, I specifically said, I'm like, hey, I want to make sure. I'm like, we're putting in, we moved here 2 years ago. I go, we're putting in a golf simulator. Like, haha, Yanga. I'm like, no, I'm serious. We're putting in a golf simulator. It's like, oh, you're serious. Yeah. And then they had to kind of make the contours of the ceiling. Like they had to put it to fit size. Right. Yeah, exactly. Then we had the people come in and it's great.
That's an awesome addition. But yeah, I mean, not to rehash that topic, but you have a really nice office here, and if I worked here, I would be happy to come in the office.
Thank you.
So good job on that. And that's, I guess, one of the important things to getting the people to come in the office.
Yeah.
At least have a space that's welcoming and makes me want to come in. Like I've seen some pretty dark offices that.
No. Like for one of the things, there's 2 things that I wanted when looking for an office space. And I was very specific with the real estate broker. And I said, if you can't give me these 2 things, then I don't even want to see the space. Yeah. Number 1, most important, natural sunlight. Yeah. And you'll notice when you walk outside how much natural sunlight there is. Yeah. Very, very, very important. I myself find it important.
It's good for productivity.
It's good for it's good for everything. Yeah. We don't need to. Yeah. Everyone knows having natural sunlight around is good. And I just wanted space because the last office we were in, the Broccolini, a beautiful building, and we had a beautiful space as well. So nothing against the Broccolini building, but it was too small for the amount of people we had. So, dude, sometimes this was pre-COVID, bro. You could walk into that place. There was 18 seats, the receptionist, so 19, and then there was 4 offices, so 23, and then we added in another 9 spots. So there's 32 spaces. Every spot was taken in a 2,800 square feet.
Wow, yeah, that's not big. Yeah,
bro, 30. Yeah. Imagine.
But that building looks huge. I guess you just.
The building itself is huge, but we had a small unit.
Yeah.
2,800 square feet for 33 people. Yeah. Everybody on the phone.
Wow.
Bro, it was straight up boiler room when you walked in. Like you'd walk in, it was like loud and stuff like that. It was cool, but
some people can hear that background noise. Right?
Of course. Some customers be like, it's really loud behind you.
Yeah.
Like, selling insurance, motherfucker. Like, what do you want? The fucking, I got 10 more calls to make. You taking it or not? No, I'm kidding. We don't.
You had that Griffintown office too at one point, right?
Yeah, that was
below
stupid.
the brick field.
That was stupid.
Were you in the brick field at one point?
Red Path.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, on the other side of the canal.
In hindsight, well, I think a lot of people would say this. If I knew COVID
was coming,
I never would have gone to the office. That was a complete waste of money. But it was good for my quality of life.
Yeah.
My office is across the street. I got to walk to work.
Yeah. Well, that would get me in the office if I was close.
Yeah, instead of me dealing with 45 minutes. I'm in traffic an hour and a half a day.
Where are you looking now to move to?
I'm moving to Point Claire.
Point Claire? So, like, it has to be
somewhere in the West End. Point Claire.
Close to Beak, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
To the course.
Close
Yeah,
Beak.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
South of the 20.
Ideally, I would. But I can do north too, because I think I might do north just because the office is on the 40 and it's still not that bad. So I'm looking at a couple places.
Just build a home in this building.
Yeah, I should. We'll put KBD on the top.
Yeah, you got a simulator, and next door is your room.
Yeah,
that's all you need.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're going to wrap it up. Anything else you want to mention before? Give one that shout out for Moast.
MOAST, Moast, like toast.com, .io.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything. Get that question a lot. Actually, the definition of Moast is without definition. Like, I think it just doesn't mean anything. I don't know. It's not. It's a name, right? Like, it doesn't really matter. It's startup stuff. But yeah, check it out. And thanks for having me on. This is good. Freemium Podcast is
my pleasure.
You're doing the right things. And I said this before we started. Like, when we used to play hockey together a long time ago, and you were always thinking about what's the best way to market, get in front, with the latest trends of online digital marketing, and you're always on top of those things. I respect that. That's the way
I
to
appreciate
build a
it, Mark.
business.
I appreciate it. It's
it
difficult to. I'm trying to build a brand, whether it's personal, whether it's KBD. If you have a brand, people trust brands that they know.
Yeah.
And if you could build a brand, and hopefully people will associate the Curtis with KBD Insurance, and if they don't, and I hope they like the content. So it's a soft pitch.
And you're trying, right? You've tried so many different things. Some will work, some won't. But at least you're out there. You're doing things, making things happen. Your branding is always on point. Like, I respect it. Keep it up, man. That's good.
Appreciate it, bro. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Freemium Podcast. If you liked it, feel free to subscribe. I never know what camera to look in. Feel free to subscribe, smash the like button. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Kurt.
Appreciate it.